What's up, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Chili Wolfpack podcast. I'm your host, Ian Wolf. Another episode of Worship Wednesday, where we are back in the book of Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 5, verses 15 through 23. And the topic of today's discussion is enjoying marriage. Now, quick disclaimer. I'm not married yet. I am in a happy Christ-centered relationship coming up on a year and a half in the not-too-distant future, but I'm not married, never been married, never had sex inside of marriage. I don't have kids. So there's a lot of things that I have not experienced yet, many things that I'm still quite naive to. However, the Lord has given me an opportunity today to discuss happy marriage and healthy sex inside of marriage. So I know that sounds like an interesting concept when there is so much that I have yet to learn, and I need to be discipled on this. But I hope you enjoy today's interpretation. Proverbs chapter 5, verses 15 through 23. And it goes, "Drink water from your own cistern, water flowing from your own well. Should your springs flow in the streets, streams in the public squares?" So you might be wondering, what is going on here? It's talking about cisterns and water and wells and springs. Well, all these different types of water is interpreted as one's spouse and quenching your sexual thirst. So in verse 15, it's a command. Drink water from your own cistern, water flowing from your own well. And if this water is your spouse and your sexual thirst, then this is commanding us to have sex and take pleasure in your spouse. Question: should your springs flow in the streets, streams in the public squares? So again with the body of water, but this time this water is in the streets and the public squares. Well, if water is, let's just say, our spouse, what do streets and public squares have in common? One thing they have in common is that there's a lot of people. There's a lot of other people. And I'm not going to say names, but there's a person at my church. This person has been redeemed. I don't know a whole lot of details about the first two of their marriages, but the person was walking in a lot of sin. But since then, again, they've been redeemed, they've been forgiven, they've been made brand new. Now they have a beautiful third marriage. And it's unfortunate that it couldn't work out the first time, but better late than never, right? So that and I have so much respect for this person as well. So it's okay if you've made mistakes along the way. But anyways, let's get back on topic. Verse 19. A loving deer, a graceful doe, let her breasts always satisfy you. Be lost in her love forever. And now when it says be lost in her love forever, that can also be translated, let's see, my notes here says that in this context, to be lost is to drift unconsciously in pleasure. And I'm sure that some of you listening would know what that means, so I'm just going to leave that there for you. Verse 20. Why, my son, would you lose yourself with a forbidden woman or embrace a wayward woman? Ooh, very, very good. Okay, so just to recap here, verse 15, it is commanding us to take pleasure in your wife. 16, it's asking us, should your wife be shared with anyone else? 17, it is saying, then it answers, responds with that, no. Your spouse is not to be shared with anyone else. 18, back on to take pleasure in your spouse. 19, take pleasure in your spouse. Now, verse 20, it's asking us, why would you lose yourself with a forbidden woman, a wayward woman? This would be an adulteress, a worldly person, someone who is not your spouse. Verse 21, for a man's ways are before the Lord's eyes, and he considers all his paths. A wicked man's iniquities will trap him. He will become tangled in the ropes of his own sin. He will die because there is no discipline and be lost because of his great stupidity. And this is incredible right here. I'd like to reread verse 23 again. He will die because there is no discipline and be lost because of his great stupidity. Look, I've been there before. Again, I'm young and there is so much that I have to learn, but I have had the privilege of making mistakes in my past, and I'm still making mistakes, but like really walking in sin and consistently, habitually sinning and going wrong. I've had that privilege. That I consider that a privilege now because I've learned so much from it, and it's enabled me to be able to teach you. Like, full transparency, I have had sex before. I am not a virgin. That was a handful of years ago while I was young. I mean, I wasn't even legally an adult yet, and I was doing that. I was hooking up. I thought that that would make me cool and give me validation, and it would fulfill my desires. And it was around that time when I realized I was so hollow, and those were some of the lowest, darkest times of my life right there. And it was around that time when, like, right around the end of my phase of hooking up with other people, when I finally started to walk with the Lord. Around that time, I was given a Bible and started to read it. And from then, I joined Bible studies and started getting in touch. So praise the Lord, seriously, because the person that you see right now is like, I was not this person a handful of years ago. So praise the Lord. My mind has been made new. My body's been made new. And I could not have done it on my own. I thought that my own ways were right. And I was totally blind to the sin that I was walking in. And I'd like to just say that to the people who I hooked up with in the past. Like, I got to say, first and foremost, as the guy, I'm sorry. I should have had more self-respect for you and myself to not do that. And I'm incredibly sorry. Like, I wish I knew better at the time and I didn't, but I hope that you're doing well. I don't know if you have a relationship with the Lord or not, but if you do, that's fantastic. If you don't, I pray that you that you find the Lord one day. Seriously, yeah, I'm praying for you and your future marriage as well. Seriously, and I mean that. It's not just for the camera. I mean that. So, all right, there you guys have it. Proverbs chapter 5, verses 15 through 23. Today we talked about enjoying marriage and taking sexual pleasure in your spouse. And might I add, only your spouse. Wait till marriage. It's totally worth it. And I'd like to say, I encourage you also to go on to Proverbs chapter 6, verses 20 through 35. There, that talks about, it gives warnings against adultery. So along similar lines, as today's discussion. That's all I got for you guys, and peace.